In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Joe Kent shocking America with his resignation as the chief of counterterrorism for the government. This is, I think, the first high-ranking government official from the Trump administration that have officially resigned over the Iran war. Now, I'm going to explain to you Joe Kent shocking America. Opa, I got the sound here playing. As the chief of counterterrorism for. So I'm gonna tell you why do I believe the reason that he did that, and how come someone so decorated, someone that was so on the same ball, the same team as Team America, Team Counterterrorism, Team against Iran, would do such a thing. And I think the answer is not going to be what you think it is. And it might upset some people to hear that, people who like him. And I do think that he's a fine gentleman with a very, very impressive military career. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mansour. I'm a former Israeli Special Forces officer from the IDF. And I'm going to be trying to make you understand a little bit what I think that happened here behind the scene. Because not only that he resigned over something that he's been advocating for such a long time, he also resigned in the most crucial time. Now, bear with me for a second. Let's say you are the head of counterterrorism for America. America goes to war with the head of terrorism on planet Earth, Iran. He have been warning Joe Kent have been warning several times already that there's a lot of sleeper cells, Iranian Shia terrorist sleeping cells inside the United States of America. So his job, if anything, should be right now at the busiest time to defend America, knowing that a lot of these people that are in the United States or in Europe or anywhere, counterterrorism, by the way, is not only domestic, by the way. So every American around the world right now is going to face hostility and possible terrorist aggression by Iranian proxies and Iranian sleeper cells because of the war in Iran. So if anything, this is the moment that he was made for in terms of his job. That is literally where your money counts. And in that peak moment, he resigns. Now, let me show you a few videos of what happened in the background. By the way, so the first senior Trump official resigns over the Iran war. Top counterterrorism appointee claims U.S. president have been deceived by Israel. Of course, you're going to see a lot of obsession here about Israel, and that will help you understand why I think is the reason that he resigned. But like I said, it's going to be a little bit different than what usually people say. I always thought, so that's Trump's response after he did that. I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. It's a good thing that he resigned. I can do it like, I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. It's a good thing that he is out. President Trump reveals he's glad Joe Kent resign on national counterterrorism. When I read his statement, I realized a good thing. And we can also see that during the statement, we're going to read it here together, he quite often blamed Israel for basically every war almost America had. And it's very interesting, but look at this guy. American Special Forces, served in the CIA, was in the, an officer, very decorated, beautiful family. His late wife, which, apparently died in Syria. Someone is saying, I have a loop. I Humri, still a loop, or this sounds like was looking for a way just, yeah. So his wife died in a terrorist attack by ISIS in Syria, I think in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just confirm for you. So here we go. Joe Kent's wife, Shannon Kent, was killed in a terrorist attack in Syria 2019. She was U.S. Navy cryptologist technician working with intelligence operation. The attack happened in Manbij, Syria, It was a suicide bombing played by ISIS targeting U.S. personnel. She was one of 4 Americans killed in that attack. So someone who have recently lost his wife due to a terrorist attack ends up basically, some would say borderline betraying his country. I won't say he betrayed his country, but leaving his country in the time that was needed the most, when more Americans will be facing terrorist attacks as we speaking, because America is fighting right now with the head of the snake of all the terrorists around the world. It's a bit weird that this would be the time that he would choose to resign. But people can come and argue, well, you know what? Maybe losing his wife abroad, seeing his children now growing up without their mother, might make him think, why are we fighting these wars? Why are we fighting any war outside of America for people that don't have missiles that can reach us? Now, I can understand that logic, coming from an American, coming and saying, we shouldn't lose any American unnecessary. We should not go and fight anywhere around the world. This is not my problem, not America's problem, kind of this isolationist behavior. Let's dig our hand in the ground and leave. People can come and bring that argument, and that will sound appealing, unless you realize one thing. This war have rarely any boots on the ground. Like literally, this war is the first war I think that America have had against an enemy of America that was fought and defeated by another nation. America just joined as a muscle. Israel went in with the Mossad, with the special forces, with boots on the ground, with the Air Force, and did all the job, destroyed the entire air defense system, leaving it for America to just come and join on the game with them and pick all the glory and help them make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear bomb. Remember, this is the reason that this is happening. So someone like him, who was in the special forces, and I was in the special forces, and I know how things goes, they operate 24/7 around the clock, all around the world. He never said anything about that. Like literally, the Delta Force just went to Venezuela. The Delta Force is working, the Navy SEALs is in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, in the Middle East, probably around Russia and all kind of places in Asia. So they're working all the time, constantly. His people, he never said a word. Never said a word. And now when America is going and defeating an enemy of America at its weakest point, at the best time to go and do it, and making sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, and also ensuring that they will not harm more Americans, he goes out with this really bizarre statement. Now look what happened is, this was the man, and we're going to dive in right now. You're going to see some videos of him. We're going to be very, very interesting because it makes you wonder. So Donald Trump wrote this on him. It is my pleasure to nominate Joe Kent as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. As a soldier, Green Beret, and a CIA officer, Joe has hunted down terrorists and criminals his entire adult life. Above all, Joe knows the terrible cost of terrorism, losing his wonderful wife, Shannon, a great American hero who was killed in the fight against ISIS. Joe continued to honor her legacy by staying in the fight. Wow. That's a powerful one. By staying in the fight. And then when his fight mattered the most, what did he do? Left. Resigned. That must be coming back like a boomerang in one way or another, unless someone has something on him. We'll talk about that as well. Joe will help us keep America safe by eradicating all terrorism, apparently not, from the jihadists around the world to the cartels in our backyard. So when he was needed the most, he left. Now, this is what he wrote. That was in February 3, 2025. Thank you, President Trump. It's an honor to serve our nation again. Time to keep our nation safe and strong. Little did we know that when time will come, he will just come and leave his duty. We should not sit and wait for the next attack, wipe Iran's ballistic capabilities out, and get our troops out of Iraq. They are only targets now. No U.S. WIA, KIA. WIA is something in action. K is killed in action. Maybe something in action. Is a tribute to the professionalism of our military and intel professionals, not Iranian resistance. Okay. So let's watch the video and hear what he had to say at the Sean Ryan show, which is, by the way, another guy that was former Navy SEALs and now is like fully on obsessed about Israel and it's contagious. Now let's hear it out.
Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay. Because after the Iraqi military we spent $2 trillion on surrendered to ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand a military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did. And the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran. So these Iranian proxies that are attacking our troops are 100% funded by the United States of America. We're funding the guys that are attacking our troops. And so it's like, well, then why do we leave our troops there? And that's always been my question. I think we should have had them out a long time ago. We can get into it when we talk about my late wife, but she should have been out of Syria because Trump gave the order to get those guys out of there.
I just realized that I might have blocked the screen for you guys, so let's watch this again.
What that is, an attack. Most Americans aren't aware of it. Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay. Because after the Iraqi military we spent $2 trillion on surrendered to ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand a military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did. And the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran. So
he's saying it.
That are attacking our troops are 100% funded by the United States of America. We're funding the guys that are attacking our troops. And so it's like, well, then why do we leave our troops there? And that's always been my question. I think we should have had them out a long time ago. We can get into it when we talk about my late wife, but she should have been out of Syria because Trump gave the order to get those guys out of there.
So you see, there's already some kind of a, I guess, hard, strong feeling about American soldiers being in conflict in other countries far away. And already then he was blaming the government. Now that's funny for someone who's working in the government to be blaming the government. Someone who is counterterrorism in the government, who holds this government accountable, blaming them for sponsoring people who are attacking their own forces. I think that's already should have been a red flag over there. But I think the biggest problem here, and guys, let's jump to the end and just call it for what it is. Anti-Semitism is a disease. Anti-Semitism is contagious. And when you are obsessed with blaming the Jews and hating the Jews and hating Israel, usually what it does is overrides and clouds every other aspect that you have, including your own interest and the interest of your country, to the point that nothing matters, whatever you can do to blame. So if Israel was not in the picture, I think he will probably not be so much against it. But Israel is now in the picture. You have some kind of an issue with Israel, dropping it all. Because let's read the letter, by the way. Here's the letter. President Trump, after much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as Director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. But didn't he just say it does? Like literally in so many podcasts, and you'll see more. There's so many times that he actually literally called out Iran to be one of the biggest terrorism threats to America. And that is literally his job, the head of counterterrorism for the government. So it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. Here we go, falling into that blame Israel for everything. I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned on 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. Well, let's talk when Iran have a nuke, buddy, or when they keep, attacking American soldiers for the next 20 years because no one did anything for them. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. What happened to all the time that you said that Iran is an enemy of America. Iran is the biggest sponsor of terrorism. And also to all the intelligent officials that are saying that Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon. Like, this is not just Israel, by the way. There's so many other agencies. That's why the entire Western world, NATO and everybody, have been dealing with Iran, trying to stop them or put regulations on them. And we always see that they've been lying and cheating about it. How can you even trust someone who've just massacred about 50,000 of its own people in about 4 days? And to think, oh no, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. So I think something went really bad there. And we're going to talk about this. You demonstrated, okay, early administration, high-ranking, with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States, and that should you strike now, there was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie, and it is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraqi war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. Here you go. Here you go, guys. He just blamed Israel for the Iraqi war. Maybe I'm misinformed, but wasn't the Iraqi war a direct action after 9/11? Like wasn't that 9/11, Al-Qaeda, and then the rumors that maybe Saddam Hussein have weapons of mass destruction and to go in and defeat ISIS, Al-Qaeda? Wasn't it like an American thing? Like literally, you guys were attacked. How is Israel involved in that? How is Israel in charge of America going to the war in Iraq? Remember what I told you? Even the best among us can fall into the virus of anti-Semitism, of blaming it all on the Jews. And once you are there, your entire sets of beliefs and systems of how you see the world start being like divided by that. Okay, how can I hurt Israel? How can I delegitimize? How can I blame them? And then everything else, even things that are good for you, like it becomes an obsession. Look at Tucker, look at Candace Owens, look at all the Muslim countries who are obsessed with Israel, hating Israel, just all day long chanting death to Israel. Now, it's a real thing. Call it spiritual, call it I don't know what. Anti-Semitism and the obsession with the Jews is a real thing. And it looks like this guy have fallen to that trap again, which is a terrible shame because he's someone that myself and many others respected, and he had a very, very honorable career. And I'm sure he's a war hero, a decorated U.S. veteran who have done great things for his country. But now when he was needed the most as a counterterrorism chief of command for the United States, when his country is fighting the biggest sponsor of terrorism on the globe, and all of the American citizens are put in harm's way to all the proxies that were allowed to enter, which, by the way, he spoke about these proxies that were entered to the United States. He warned several times that Iran have their proxies in the United States. So now when his job is needed the most, he allows his obsession over Israel and the Jews to undermine everything else, and he just blames everything on Israel and comes and says that he's resigning. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Let's keep reading, guys. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel. Ooh, I never read that. So he's blaming Israel for the death of his wife. How is Israel in charge for the death of his wife that happened in Syria in 2019? That was when Assad was still in power, and it was ISIS. I'm trying to connect the logic here. How is he blaming Israel for the death of his wife? Who is he talking to? Like, who are his friends? Who is giving him advice? Help me in the comments here, guys. If you think you know what will make someone like that all of a sudden abandon his country in the time that they need him the most, head of counterterrorism, when everybody right now, when all the terrorists in the world right now want to hurt America because America is fighting the head of terrorists on the planet. So literally that is his bread and butter. That is his money time. It's time to shine and do his job properly. And what he chooses to do? Abandon that role, leave it when he's needed the most, and blame Israel for the death of his wife that was murdered by ISIS in Syria at 2019. That was even before October 7. That's very, very interesting. Very, very bizarre. Again, remember what I told you? When you hate Israel, when you're jealous of the Jews, there's a lot of jealousy also, you know? A lot of the anti-Semitism doesn't come only because it's spiritual and there's like, you know, spiritual devils and demons behind that are going around. But also when there's a lot of jealousy of how successful Israel is and how successful the Jews are. And now that they're so happy that their arch enemy that wanted to nuke Israel, remind you guys, Israel is a one-bomb country, meaning one bomb can wipe out the whole country. So Israel doesn't take any risks. And now they went and they did all the job almost by themselves in the beginning. And now America came and joined them to help to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So obviously Israelis are happy. Israelis are happy. Iranians are happy. Many minorities in the Middle East that were oppressed, killed, women are happy. Gay people are happy. Children are happy. Almost everybody from the good guys is happy. But the bad guys, and Mr. Joe here, who is upset because I guess Israel is happy. I'm not joking. I really think this is probably the reason, at least the reason, the most that I could think about it. Because again, if you take it by logic, Americans are working, American special forces are operating all around the globe all the time, including the Delta Force, his buddies, and etc. The Green Berets. So what changed now? America's not sending boots on the ground. America's fighting one of the easiest wars ever fought because Israel have literally almost did the entire job for it. Went and completely eliminated the anti-air defense system and took them down, weakened that leadership, and just America just come in and join the party. Just come in, bring all your airplanes, let them train, let them go and kill enemies of America, let them go and kill sponsors and supporters of global jihad, and the ones that are trying to death to America every day, hurt Americans, and want to get a nuclear weapon, which, by the way, they were very close and still are working on getting it. So why all of a sudden you choose to resign and blame Israel for all the wars that America went and for the death of your wife? I'm going to read this again. That's crazy. As a veteran deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, how is Israel manufactured? Does he know history? Does he know that Islam have been in war with Christianity for the last 1,600 years? Like not with the Jews even. Like the Jews were a nonsense, was something small. They slaughtered them, killed many of them, got them out of the way, and enslaved them. Christianity was the main enemy of Islam. So they see America as Christian. They're still at war. They even call America. Yeah, he met Islam. He was the Green Beret. I'm pretty sure that head of counterterrorism for the United States. He knows Islam. That's why it's very bizarre that he's blaming Israel for manufacturing that. I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justify the cost for American lives. What a liar. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reserve course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further towards a decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve in your administration and serve our great nation. Well, I think one thing for sure, Joseph Kahn, Director of National Counterterrorism Center, he probably burned his bridges to ever work with the Republicans and to ever work with the liberals. The only ones that will hire him now is maybe Tucker Carlson or Nick Fontesi. That's probably the only ones. Or this, what's the name of this podcaster? Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan. That's probably the only one that's going to take him. Because they all share very, very similar sentiments. And some are smarter, some are a bit less. But that's kind of it. But let's keep going, guys. Because it gets interesting. So, Aisha Hassin, I've seen that in many places, so I'm just going to read what she said here. A senior administration official tells Fox Joe Kent was a known leaker and he was cut out of POTUS intelligence briefing months ago. I've heard that from several sources already. The White House told DNI Tulsi Gabbard he should be fired for suspected leaks, but she never did. He has not been part of any Iran planning. So I've heard that before already, that they were already suspecting that he is not on the same ball with them, which is really weird, because if you have the head of counterterrorism not on the same ball when you're attacking the head of terrorism, when the head of counterterrorism does not agree with you attacking the head of terrorism, undoubtedly is going to bring acts of terrorism into your country. So the head of counterterrorism is going to have more work. So if he's not on the ball, then something is really weird. Why is he in the job even? So I don't know what. But here are some of the enemies of America, which, by the way, have burned more American flags than Israeli flag, guys. Literally. Or at least the same. Israel took them all out. These are arch enemies wanted by America. They're literally on the top wanted list for terrorists by America. And that's the ones that Israel and America are taking down right now. Interesting that he sees. And these are all the best supporting proxies of Iranian terrorist regime. Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, Al-Qaeda. So, Al-Faqar, Al-Qaeda. So these are all big for Al-Qaeda doesn't like Iran. Big friends of Iran.
A decorated war veteran who lost his wife in Syria. What are you doing? You're giving aid and comfort to a lie. There was an imminent threat. How much more imminent could you be within 2 weeks having enough material to make 10 bombs? How close could you come? Not much.
That was interesting. Now, here's another very interesting theory that I've read. This video footage of Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson show in January 24, the same Joe Kent who resigned today as NCTT director, you know, the counterterrorism, lying out exactly what he predicted the war with Iran would look like. Tucker called it the most reasonable, common sense, factual assessment of seen from anyone. Let's check and predictions against reality. Kenneth predicted it would be very bloody. Reality, 13 American service members have been killed, a tragedy, and everyone matter, but very bloody. Predict a catastrophic casualty tolls. Operation Epic Fury Day 18 with 6,000 combat fighters flown, Iran's nuclear program buried, Navy destroyed, and top leadership eliminated. And I would say that the ones who died, all died because of, not because of combat actions by the enemy. Most of them. It was literally because of technical problems and human error. And may their memory be always, you know, a blessing, but, you know, he predicted it's going to be very bloody. It didn't work. Kenneth predicted everyone in Iran would rally around their leader. Iranian dance in the street. That's so true. Like every prediction that he gave was wrong. Iranian dance in the street when Khamenei was killed. They celebrated Lajan's death today. The regime had to shut down the internet and deploy security forces to stop Iran from rising up. One doctor called it the best night of our life. So how wrong was he? Another prediction by Kenneth is Iranian proxies throughout the region will conduct massive attack. Iran proxies network, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis was already largely dismantled before the war began by Israel. So like I said, Israel have done most of the job for America, making it one of the easiest wars America have to do. Reality, China is being asked to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway carrying their own oil. Okay, Kenneth predicted that opening a Pandora box, absolute insanity. Reality, Trump says it will be wrapped up soon. All right, that's not so interesting. Let's keep going. Here's another interesting piece.
Who does not serve you or us? How did a guy like Joe Kent get to be your top counterterror official? How did your top counterterror guy think there was no real threat from Iran and say nothing until now? How does he believe that you didn't want to strike?
Anti-Semitism, guys.
No conscience.
Obsession over the Jews.
Either way, no good. And these two positions are his most benign, okay? He's got ties to ultra-right-wing extremists like the Proud Boys. He's got a Panzer tattoo. He's the German tank. He believes in the great replacement theory that the left wants illegal immigrants to replace white voters. He believes the 2020 election was stolen. He believes the FBI instigated January 6th. Again, that would all make perfect sense if it was some MAGA man podcaster. But this guy had a critical job in the White House. You can't have a collection of kooks around you and think that you're going to be at your best as an administration.
True, true. So there's quite a lot of people from the Rangers and other places in the United States, including Green Berets, that were very, very upset with what Mr. Joe did. Let's read from Army Ranger F.F. Green. I think it was Green Beret. There are credible reports that Kent had been sidelined from Iran briefings and was not in the operational planning loop. The border claims that he was cut out of POTUS intel briefings for months and that the White House ordered Gabbard to fire him are reported by serious outlets, but they still rest in anonymous sourcing and are not equally confirmed. What multiple reports say is fairly narrow. A senior administration official described as Kenneth as a known leaker. Fox News. That same line of reporting said he was cut out of presidential intelligence briefing months earlier through the Atlantic. Some reports add that the suspicion of leaking is what led to him being excluded from PDB-level access in Iran-related discussions. Administration officials believe he was talking to the press or otherwise disclosing sensitive internal information, and they curtailed his access as a precaution. Without a document investigating leak, memo, inspector general record, or name officials going on the record, treat the allegations as credible reporting, but internal suspicions not a proven fact. But things don't look good for Joe. He pissed off the right and the left. He have no political future. Anything to do with Tucker Carlson. Yeah, just like I said. Just like I said. Guys, it's an obsession over the Jews. Now here's this. This is a very interesting interview by the man that happened quite a while back. And it's very relevant because what he's saying here is very contradicting to what he allegedly just resigned from the government.
It's the Iranian Revolution in 1979 when radical jihadis essentially took over the government of Iran, and they declared war basically on the West, but they also declared war on the vast majority of the Sunni Gulf states. And so what Kushner and what the Trump administration did was they came in and they said, look, you guys actually have a common enemy. Iran is an existential threat to both Israel. It's an existential threat to the oil-producing Arab Gulf countries. And so that was the genesis of the Abraham Accords. So what they did was they basically said the obvious. No one's going to solve this. At least an outsider, a Westerner, is not going to be able to come in here and say, hey, here's the grandiose solution between the Arabs and between the Palestinians and between the Israelis. Let's isolate that as much as we possibly can, and let's create a pragmatic alliance. And that's what led to a lot of the peace and prosperity that we had in the Middle East. Now, again, here comes Joe Biden. Biden comes into office, and he does, I think, two things. He brings back in a lot of folks from the Obama administration who had bet their careers in foreign policy on reaching out to Iran. That was Obama's famous thing. If you extend your hand, if you unclench your fist, we'll extend our hand. And we did that. We entered the Iran deal. We gave the Iran access to billions and billions of dollars. And what did Iran do? They funded their proxies throughout the entire Middle East. We had already seen this movie before. Biden comes in and does the exact same thing. He brings back Blinken and Sullivan and the rest of the Iran deal guys. He says, we're going to reach back out. Trump got Iran all wrong. Iran had been pretty quiet for quite a while under President Trump. But then Biden comes in, they unfreeze a ton of money, billions of dollars going to Iran immediately. Iran does what Iran does. They immediately start funding all of their proxies throughout the entire Middle East.
And building a nuclear weapon.
For as well, through the government of Iraq, through the governments of Qatar, those types of things. But the Iranians are very smart. And they said, hey, how can we upend the Abraham Accords? Because the Abraham Accords was an existential threat to Iran. It was an alliance that was created that really checked Iran. So they knew they needed to light the Israel-Palestine issue back on fire. And so they gave Hamas a bunch of aid, and then they had Hamas conduct a very brutal and very public attack. The way that Hamas immediately put that brutal attack of October 7th all over the internet as brutally as possible, I think they had a lot of professional advice from the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, their special operations guys, in order to get a response from Israel. And then Israel did what they had to do. They had to go in and defend themselves. And now they're going scorched earth on Gaza. And quite frankly, a lot of people in America are not comfortable with that. A lot of Democrats aren't comfortable with that. And we can critique them here from America, where for now it's nice and safe. But they're doing what I think any rational actor would do that's faced with a threat like that. But at the same time, they are playing right into Iran's hands by putting this issue back front and center. And so now all the Gulf states, all the former allies of Israel that we had.
So, isn't that interesting that a man like that, who was undoubtedly very well immersed and aware of what's happening in the Middle East, like the head of the counterterrorism of the United States, clearly have been warning Americans again and again and again and again about Iran. All of a sudden, when America is attacking Iran, the head of the snake, the head of all the terrorists, and his job is the most needed, he goes and he resigns. And what does he do? He blames Israel for all of it. And he goes all the way to blaming Israel for the war in Iran, for the war in Iraq, and for the death of his wife who died from ISIS before October 7 in Syria by an ISIS suicide bomber. Tell me this is not another casualty for the anti-Semitism virus. This obsession over Israel. And I think people need to understand that hating Israel is not America first. Blaming everything on Israel is not America first. There's some kind of a notion now that people are falling for that, blaming everything on Israel is America first because Israel control everything. Guys, I'm an Israeli. I'm telling you right now, we don't think too much about what's happening in your countries. Seriously, we are just a one-bomb nation. I explained that before. It means that one bomb can literally wipe out our entire country with everyone that we love, the only Jewish state on the face of this earth. And the Jewish people are a bit allergic for genocidal attempts. They've had that before. So they don't want to make it happen again. So they will take anything needed to protect themselves. And in this case, there is literally an active enemy of America first, and then of Israel, who is actively pursuing a nuclear bomb, who is actively sponsoring terrorism worldwide, who have brought sleeper cells and terrorists into the United States, which Mr. Joe here said it before several times. And now they're at their weakest point because Israel is literally kicking their tuchis out. And Israel asked America, come and help us. And America actually, in this case, America actually initiated it. Said, no, we're going in. We're going in. We're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon. And they're the weakest. If anything, this is the right time to attack them at their weakest point. And if anything, someone like him, who was a former Delta Force, sorry, not Delta Force, Green Beret, knows that U.S. Special Forces are operating all around the globe, and nothing is different today. Nothing is different. Like Iran haven't changed anything. America is not sending the Rangers. They're not sending the Marines. They're not sending infantry or artillery. They're literally using airplanes, CIA, and maybe some special forces operations going around there. But most of the job is literally have been done by Israel, by the Mossad, by the Israeli Special Forces, by the Israeli Air Force. So if anything, it's one of the easiest wars that America had. One of the easiest wars for America to go and also cripple a serious, serious enemy of America and weaken its alliance with its allies that are enemies of America, Russia and China. So anything about this war, from a logical point of view, is probably one of the easiest, most justified wars that America have went to. An enemy that want to destroy America, want to build a nuke, and that is attacking America constantly. And now he's weakened, and he's also a big ally of the enemies of America. But this guy, like I said, like many others, once you become infected, just like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fontrisi, and all these guys, then all your Sean Ryan, he's also getting quite big into blaming anything on Israel and platforming all kind of weirdos that will come and throw everything to blame in the world about Israel. It's very disappointing. I used to like his show. And he's calling himself a young Christian, new Christian, so I really hope he will have the right Christians around him to give him some kind of advice. So this guy now comes and does all of that, just shows you that even the best good man can fall into the virus of anti-Semitism. Now, since we're here, I want to read for you something very interesting of another U.S. military personnel that also left the government a while back, but he had much better reasoning to do that. And much, much better. Like, and his logic, at least, was way, way more on spot than this guy. He commanded over 250,000 troops, owned 7,000 books, and when the most powerful man in the world overruled him, he simply left. Let's read a little bit about this interesting, fascinating U.S. general. So he grew up in a small town along the Columbia River where he was something you read about in history books. At the age of 18, James Mattis enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve, not for glory nor for money, because he genuinely believed some things were worth protecting. He studied history at Central Washington University, earned his degree, and was commissioned as a second lieutenant at 72. No family connections, no political shortcuts, just discipline, curiosity, and growing conviction that the best leaders in history weren't the ones born great, they were the ones who studied the greatness until it became an instinct. So he did something unusual for soldiers. He built a library, book by book, war by war, decade by decade. That library grew up to over 7,000 volumes, ancient battles, modern strategy, philosophy, stoicism, and on every deployment, one book traveled with him, Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, the private journal of Roman emperor who carried out the weight of an empire while trying to remain a decent human being. Mattis handed out reading lists to every officer who served under him. He believed the leader without historical knowledge wasn't leading, they were just gussing, and in his world, gusses cost lives. I strongly agree with that, because when I was in the Officer Academy in the IDF, Gal Hirsch was our commander. Brilliant man. And he taught us something that goes with me until today. He said Safra and Saifa. An officer needs to be Safra and Saifa. Safra is a book, Saifa is a sword. And he said you need to have a sword in one hand, a book in one hand. You need to be a fighter scholar, a scholar monk, you know, whatever you want to call it, someone who is highly educated but also highly capable. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war. And here you want to be a very educated guy. So I think educated officers, educated warriors make the best warriors in general. His troops had a nickname for him, the warrior monk. Here we go. He had no children for decades, no wife. Every hour was given to the study of war and the care of the people he commanded. He led Marines through 3 wars, the Gulf War, Afghanistan, Iraq. In November 2001, just weeks after September 11, he commanded Task Force 58 in assault 400 miles inland into Afghanistan, the furthest amphibious strike Marine Corps history. In 2003, he pushed his division from Kuwait all the way to Baghdad in the longest sustained overland advance in Marine Corps. There's a reason I'm reading for you this, guys. It's going to be coming the next page. He relieved officers who failed their troops. He praised those who protected them. He rose until there was almost nowhere left to rise. In 2017, President Trump called Mattis to become Secretary of Defense, confirmed 98-1. Next page. 98-1 by the Senate. Inside the Pentagon, he did what he's always done, protected the alliance, strengthened readiness, and showed up for the people in uniform. Then came December 2018. Trump announced an immediate withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria, overruling Mattis and every senior advisor to Mattis' alliance were diplomatic strategy. They were the bedrock of everything you did. You did not leave the people who bled beside you. He went to the Oval Office, he argued his case, he lost. So to give you a little bit context, America used the help of the Kurds in Syria to defeat ISIS. So America don't need to send boots on the ground. And the Kurds, fierce warriors, men and women, went and literally crushed ISIS with the help of America, training and equipment. They went and defeated ISIS. For those who don't know, the Kurds are Muslims themselves, but they're the ones who actually descended from Salah ad-Din, which is the most glorified Muslim tacticians, warrior, and warlord and strategian. And till today, he's considered like, the greatest warrior hero that Islam had. And he was a Kurd. So the Kurds are known to be fierce fighters. And they're very loyal. And they were very good ally to America. So Americans who fought beside these Kurds felt all of a sudden, why are we betraying them? Like we're abandoning them for the fate of ISIS to come and kill them, and the Syrians and the Muslims in general, these radical fanatics in the Middle East. So there was quite a lot of pressure that it's not right, morally right, to do so. We fought side by side, and we just stay here. And also our allies will see what we did to the Kurds now, and will start not trusting America, because if America can do something like this with the Kurds, tomorrow they'll do it with everyone else, with NATO allies and etc. So that was kind of the feel that was happening there, and he felt that something is wrong. That's my interpretation. I'm just giving you some context. Let's keep reading here. He argued his case, he lost. The next morning he resigned. His letter didn't make excuses, it didn't bury the truth in careful language. It said the president deserved a Secretary of Defense whose views aligned with his own, and that Mattis could no longer be that person. Senators from both parties called it the most principled resignation they have witnessed in a generation. No press tour, no book deal that week, no television circuit, no book deal. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He did it very, very elegantly. Just a general walking away from power because saying would have meant betraying everything he had spent 41 years of building. Wow. There is a certain kind of person who define themselves entirely by their position, and there is another kind who surrender any position before surrendering who they are. Jace Mattis, the boy who grew up reading about war on the banks of Columbia River, who built 7,000 books library, understand it, who led 250,000 troops across 3 wars, was always second kind. Some people collect titles, he collected principles, and when the moment came to choose between the two, there was never reality and any choice here. So that man that I just read you right now have made the decision that he made, at least from what I understand, because he felt that these were not the values that America should stand for, that they should not abandon their allies. And if the allies were willing to risk their neck for America, then America should be willing to risk their neck for these allies. He was actually upset that they pulled the troops out of Syria and that they left their allies. And he was not happy with and worried how would that make allies of America feel that they can't trust America. So he was thinking like in a bigger picture even, we're part of NATO, we're part of the Western coalition. We are literally, America is like leading that coalition, and our allies should know that we will not just use them and throw them. So that was his fear. I'm not saying that that's what America did, but that was the sentiment that was going around, and he, as a fighter who was on the ground, felt that this would be a betrayal towards his comrades who fought and bled beside him. Look at the difference between him and between this guy here. Man, this mirror here, it's mirrorless. Like, I'm getting confused with this OBS. So you can see that there is a bit of a difference here. And when it comes to Joe Kent, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just gonna leave it that way. I genuinely believe, a decorated warrior, officer who got infected by the hating the Jews, blaming the Jews virus. And when the time mattered the most, when his country needed him the most, he allowed his hatred towards Israel and the Jews to overrule his commitment to his job, which was the head of counterterrorism, while America was going and eliminating the head of terrorism. Let that sink in. America attacks the head of terrorism. Meanwhile, the head of counterterrorism, whose sole purpose and job was to defend American citizens from the head of terrorism and his proxies, what does he do? Resigns. Why? Because he believes that Israel is in charge for killing his wife, who died by ISIS in Syria before October 7. Quite a mental backflips you have to go there to justify what you just did and the blames that you're throwing around and abandoning your government at war. Like, he literally abandoned America in a wartime and abandoned his duty. Now, I know he's probably going to go to different shows right now and play the victim and say, I've got a lot of hate messages and people are threatening me now and call me names and I don't know what. And he'll try to be like the victim. And in general, it's something that we're seeing right now happening quite a lot in the woke right, where they will say the craziest things and then they'll play as if, like, you know, they're sacrificing a lot by standing against what they believe. No, like, some of them are literally saying Nazi stuff and they're standing for it. and people came and hated me. Yeah, people hated you because you said racist, stupid stuff. People hated Nick Fontese because he's genuinely just admitting that he's racist and that he hated Jews, hate women, hate the blacks, hate the Hispanics, hate Asians, hate Muslims. Muslims are probably the least that he hates right now. He's kind of aligning himself with them. But bottom line, then they come and say, yeah, you know, I received so much heat. Yeah, you received heat because you did stupid stuff. And I'm pretty sure that this guy will twist the reality in his head because he already believes a very twisted reality and blames it all on Israel. And when the time comes, he'll say he's a victim. Yeah, he sacrificed. Oh, I'm a hero. I stood for what I believed in. No. You had a job to protect your country from terrorism. And you abandoned that job when it mattered the most. That's what I think. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got it all wrong, you know, and I don't know the guy personally. If you think that I maybe didn't accurately represent anything here or said something that wasn't fully accurate, by all means, guys, let me know. And I'll be more than happy to come and talk about it and try to correct it. But just wanted to say thank you for sticking around. Stay safe. And in general, don't do anything stupid. I'm going to take a little bit of time now to answer some questions. So if people have some questions from the crowd, let me know. And I'll be more than happy to give my answers. Let's see if there's any interesting accents. And if you wrote a question, you know, write it again because I'm going through Erev Tov, Notorious Maximums. Erev Tov, good evening. Swaggy squelling. America took heavy losses. I believe will come. America is winning. Exactly. You know, Hooper nailed it. That's what I was trying to explain. He said this. It's amazing how they claim you can't criticize Israel while doing so 24/7. That is exactly what I mean when they play the victim. Oh, I'm the victim. Oh, when I started criticizing Israel, I got so much heat. You're not allowed to criticize. Like, literally half the planet is criticizing Israel all the time. The reason you get heat is because Israel is fed up with it, and the people who love Israel, the Christians and the kind-hearted humans and Westerners that love Israel, are saying, gloves off. We're not going to let these anti-Semites keep criticizing Israel and try to destroy Israel. No, we're going to stand for Israel. So then they go, oh, you can't criticize Israel. It's probably one of the most criticized countries in the world. Do you think he might make a move towards the Democratic Party? So I'm pretty sure that now that he burned himself, I think the Democrats won't take him. He's a white, successful male who is strong, who is masculine, was a fighter. I mean, in general, usually Democrats don't like these guys. At least, I'm talking the current woke progressive Democrats. I'm not talking like the good old ones like Bill Maher's and others. I think the only party that will take him will be the Tucker Carlson mentality. This America First, white, frustrated males that, been hearing all their life how they're bad and terrible and evil, and now they just came to the point where they say we don't care. We don't care. And that's what makes them also dangerous, because it's good that they came to the point where they say we don't care. But when you don't have knowledge and history behind it, it becomes a very dangerous combination. Because now you're just easily manipulated, and you take that frustration, and the easiest target is always Israel and the Jews. It's always been, you know, like the number one go-to when you're frustrated, when you can't buy a house, when life is not easy, and everybody's telling you you're terrible. Blame it on the Jews, and everybody jump on that train. Tusi switched to the Republicans. All right, I don't know what that have to do with this. Gaslighting is overused, but this was what. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. Tulsi looks like a Tulsi, like a Disney villain. Okay. All right, guys, I'm gonna give 1 more minute to see if there's any more questions, or 2 minutes, and if not, we're gonna call the show. And again, I'm sorry, I'm trying to work this OBS. So I have the camera here I'm looking at, and then I have the monitor here. But often I look at the camera and I don't notice the monitor, and then I don't notice that I'm actually blocking the whole screen. And that's when you end up having me showing a video and the whole screen is my face instead of the video. So I'm getting better. Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, okay, not Tulsi. So someone is saying, Michael Feldman is saying, I agree with everything with one small exception. His anti-Semitism goes back further than his wife's death. So he was never really on my radar, I'll be honest. First time I saw him was on the Sean Ryan show, and he was talking pretty spot on when it came to counterterrorism, his career, telling some cool stories from his service. So I wasn't aware, and I didn't really dig in too deep to how does he perceive the Jews, Israel, and how deep the anti-Semitism goes. But now you kind of see it, you know, all of a sudden, you know, ISIS kills your wife and you blame Israel for it. America goes to war with the enemies of America and you blame Israel for it. I mean, America goes to war in Iraq and you blame Israel for it. So where does that go? And then he says, like, Israel has dragged us to all these wars. So yeah, it's a classic case of just drop it on the Jews. Drop it on the Jews. The guy is a classic case of drop it on the Jews, and then when the time matters the most, when his counterterrorism job matters the most, when his country is fighting the head of terrorism, he chose to resign because he want to blame it on the Jews. And that's what I meant. That's anti-Semitism, guys. It clouds your mind that you start blaming everything on the Jews. The urge to blame the Jews becomes higher than actually necessity and practical needs. It becomes more important than actually what needs to be done. It overrides. So all of a sudden, I should go and defend my family from these people who want to come and kill me, sleeper cell terrorist Iranians in my country. No, I should blame the Jews. Yeah, but that counterproductive because the Jews are helping you fight them. No, I don't want to fight my enemies. I want to blame the Jews. And you see my point? It's a brain disease. Yeah. Tulsi, not Tusi. Okay, I got confused there. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me if he was a Democrat hearing what he said now. No, actually, I don't know. That kind of anti-Semitism, guys, we're seeing from both, from Democrats and from the far right. This America First kind of, they're not America First really, but you know, this America Isolation kind of party. He was supposed to know what Israel was against invasion in Iraq until because it will benefit Iran. That's true. Someone is saying when I was in the U.S. Air Force, Observer ELHQ. I met some of the most horrible people I have ever met. Evil, lying just because they wore on uniform. A uniform doesn't mean that they decently respect people. That's true. I've met really racist people throughout my time in my service from all different armies. And I met also really good people. But just because you were in the army, were in a certain unit, it doesn't really mean your morality. And it doesn't necessarily, show a badge of honor, as people like to believe. And that's very true. I agree with that. I agree. Well, anyway, guys, wanted to thank you all. It was a pleasure being here. Stay tuned. Don't forget to do the like, share, the subscribe, the click the bell so we can keep notifying you. I need to get used to talking to the camera here. This is a different camera. And also, if you want to help support the channel and the work that I'm doing, go and check my Patreon. Tomorrow is going to be a special day. Tomorrow, a big game is coming out. And I will stream myself playing it for the first time. Crimson Desert. If you haven't heard of this game, it's a big game. It's coming out, and some people are saying it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year, maybe even bigger than GTA 6. I don't know, but I'm excited. So I'm going to stream myself trying it and playing it and just beholding and enjoying the graphics, the storyline, the technicalities, the gameplay, and etc. So if you want, join the show. Tomorrow is going to be a game streaming day for all the nerds and geeks among us. And of course, I will throw here and there a few shekels of wisdom about what do I think. Am I a gamer? Did Notorious Maximum just ask me if I'm a gamer? All right, Notorious. You know what? Let's bring it. Make it real. See this? I spent my entire childhood as a street kid crawling underground looking for coins so I can take them and play in the arcade. That's what I spent my entire childhood, just so I can become good at Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. What was the name of the... Oh, there were so many cool games that I played back then. I literally grew up around games, but luckily for me is that everything I did in the games I also did in the Special Forces. So I ended up living the stuff that I did in games. But also, I think I had a pretty good balance of outdoors. I grew up as a street kid, so I spent a lot of time in the streets, but also in the desert, hiking, traveling, and gaming. So when I was in South America, for example, hiking in the jungles, I went to a flea market and I found a small, tiny PlayStation, kind of with a CD, like a PS, but the small one. I bought it. And then I bought a CD with like 200 classic old games. And then every time that I got to a hostel, when I was hiking in the jungle, I took it out, connected to TV, and I invited some of the street kids, and we were doing Tekken, like tournaments. So yeah, I love gaming. It's a big passion that I have. But I think it's also one of the fields that are being ignored right now when it comes to the enemy jumping on the world of gaming in order to infiltrate the brains of our children and the future generations, and it's being ignored. Just like mainstream media was ignored until it became bought completely by woke and by communists. And then later on, podcast was ignored completely until it became big, and again was bought by a lot of these bad players. And we just wake up one day realizing that the biggest podcasters in the world are anti-West, anti-Israel, anti-Jews, and in general like pro-jihad, pro-communism. Same thing with the world of gaming, guys. It's happening. Saudi Arabia, China, everybody right now is taking a bite. Qatar, in the world of gaming, because they know whoever controls the world of gaming and streaming is going to control the narrative, and sooner or later your kid who was left with a tablet in the kitchen while he was doing your stuff at the age of 6 comes out at the age of 13 and he's a full-on Nazi, full-on anti-Semite, full-on anti-Israel, anti-America, pro-jihad, pro-China, pro-Russia, pro-communism, because that's what he was receiving in his games. Every second NPC that he was playing and interacting with came and gave him a story of, oh, the evil Americans have came and destroyed my village. Will you go and help me? There's a few American soldiers that are guarding over the body of my wife. Go and help me retrieve so I can bury her. And that's like the messaging is going to be sent. Or the evil Zionists have came and kidnapped my child. Will you go and help him? Meanwhile, I will give you a few pigs from my farm and a sword. And that's going to be the NPCs that are going to be sending, oozing anti-Semitic, anti-West messaging into the brains of our kids, subtle or not subtle. So I do think that gaming is very, very important and are becoming right now more and more important than ever in terms of how we need to prepare for the future of our children and for the future of mainstream media. Whoever controls the narrative will control the world. And the narrative is going to be very, very strong in the world of gaming and streaming. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, I opened a Twitch and a Kick account, which I'm barely active, but I am teaching myself because I think it's important to become relevant in these worlds as well. So tomorrow I'll stream it on YouTube and also on my Kick and Twitch account. I called it Old Man Gamer. Most likely no one here is going to hear about it or go there. I probably have 1 or 2 followers there, so no high expectations there. Yep. Saudis bought EA Sport and others. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. Car game nerd. Yeah, I love car games. Drones are expensive when you crash them. Before also, I've crashed like 6 drones in my life. I'm a very good drone pilot, but I'm also crashed a few drones. So yeah, it can be expensive. Is that the asteroids? I have a full-size one of those. I was thinking, Crusader John, like literally, I was thinking of buying a big one and putting it in the living room or my kids' room. Like the old big ones, I think you can find them on Amazon or, something for like $300 or $400. You can buy like a whole big one, like the old school ones. I'm really tempted of getting one. I think it'd be really cool because that's the kind of gaming that I want my kid to grow having. Like these old school games that had people come and play together and not the games that made you stay away from friends, but the games who brought friends together. That's true. Crusade Johnson is saying exactly what I was trying to emphasize here. Whoever gets their message in front of the kids with the loudest, most frequent message will win the long game. That's what they did to universities, and that's what they did to mainstream media and podcasts. And we, Team West, Team Good, kind of ignored these things. Social media, just let it go. And then we woke up one day to see that all of our students, all of a sudden, think that Hitler was right, Osama bin Laden was right, and that Hamas are freedom fighter, Hezbollah are heroes, and Israel and the IDF are the evil ones, and America is the greatest devil, like in the West. So people thought the long run, the long term, and they did it, and now the next battlefield is gaming, and everybody's behind, and I keep telling it to people, but no one is listening to me. So that's why I decided, gloves off, I'm gonna go and do it myself, and I'm gonna start working my way up in the world of streaming and gaming so I can bring some voice of sanity into the madness that is gonna be there. It's gonna be a war zone. There's gonna be a war zone. So again, I'm new to this. I'm teaching. I'm new to everything here that I'm doing. I'm new to streaming. I'm new to YouTube, and I'm definitely new to Kick and Twitch. So I'm teaching myself as I'm going. So I'll appreciate all the support and help in that journey. And if you want to go and check my Twitch and Kick, it's Old Man Gamer, OMG. Go and find me out there, and I will highly appreciate any tips in terms of how can I do it better. But anyway, guys, stay safe. I love talking about gaming. Every time that comes, I'll just doze out and start talking about it. GTA 6 might change the world if it's rated R. If they do GTA 6 very good, yeah, it'll be big. And whoever will control the narrative in GTA 6 will affect the next election. Mark my words about that. You're going to see future U.S. presidents Marco Rubio and G.D. Vance running after one another with a baseball bat and chasing each other with cars, with a wife beater kind of shirt, and going around with the GTA music, just because they want to get the new generation to vote for them. That's what's going to happen. Mainstream media was a thing. All the presidents went to mainstream media, all the politicians. Podcast became the main thing. All the politicians that respect themselves start going to podcasts. All of them. Suddenly, you see every single one of them going to podcasts. Game streaming is going to be the next thing. You're going to see politicians there. They go where the crowd is. They go where their voters are. And people, that's where they'll go. If it goes woke and PG, people will riot. Yes. If GTA 6, if the moment that I hear the word woke, I immediately delete the game. I don't talk about it. But I'm not worried if GTA 6 is going woke, because if that's the case, then just garbage. I'm worried of it of going anti-Semite, Black Lives Matter kind of, symbolism. Remember, like in Call of Duty, I basically stopped playing the game when I saw that they were putting this banner of Black Lives Matter. Not that I have anything with black people, but just I smelled beneath, and I knew that this was a stinky organization, and that was a con artist, and they didn't care about black people. They were just anti-West communism, anti-Semitic, and they proved it. They proved me right, that they were what I said they are. And, a lot of these woke gains fell for it. So the moment that I smell wokeness, out of the window. Don't want to hear it. Not worried from that. I'm more worried from the sinister kind of anti-Semitism and pro-communism, anti-West agenda that is going under the surface, and we're not seeing it. I doubt shipping this asteroid game Atari from 1972 Germany would be very cost effective. Yeah. I mean, if you ever bring it to Germany, we'll play it together. Crusader Jason. All right, guys. Thank you ever so lasting, thank you ever so lasting. Oh, thank you ever so kindly. Thank you ever so kindly. That was a saying from Neverwinter. One of the characters will say, "Thank you ever so kindly." It was a great episode, and I really hope that we're gonna hear more things about what is happening with the war in Iran. Hopefully it will be over soon, but with the right results, not because people decided to abandon the Iranian people. I'm talking the right result, which is no more Ayatollah, no more RCG, and the people of Iran are free. That's what it would be. And the whole Middle East is free of the reigning terror from Iran. We have alarms now. Here we go. Israel is having alarms. Stay safe, guys. In Israel, go to the bomb shelter. It's a good time to finish the show. God bless you. And thank you so much, Know the Figure. You're doing it great. Thanks for your time, and online streams are actually making a difference. Thank you. Much, much appreciated, man. Oh, I can reply to you here in chat. Oh, interesting. How do I do that? Danke. Ooh, I just learned a new thing. I wouldn't trust Kamala. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Knowing the Fire. That's very kind of you. And guys, stay safe. God bless. See you next time. Now, how do I stop the stream?